Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming out on a Friday afternoon. First of all, I'd like to welcome the faculty and the staff at Bluefield State College that are here today, the students. In particular, I'd like to welcome our chair, Gary Moore, who will give some remarks afterwards. We'd also like to thank alumni and other community individuals who may be here or may be watching in on the college's YouTube channel. Our purpose here today is pretty plain and straightforward: to provide the campus with an open and honest look at our current fiscal situation, and to discuss the strategies and actions necessary to assure a bright and prosperous future for Bluefield State College. For 125 years, Bluefield State College has been more than just a place for young people to go and to learn and to prepare for the future. It's also been a special place, a place of opportunity for generations of students who face considerable economic and social challenges, a special place of opportunity for young men and women to pursue an education that was unavailable to their parents and the generations before them, and a special place that, if it didn't exist, would have resulted in thousands of people being denied the opportunity to pursue their hopes, their dreams, and their God-given destinies. You who are gathered here today, as well as each and every person who has taught, learned, served, or supported this institution, can truly be proud of Bluefield State's rich heritage of changing the lives of thousands of young men and women. But along the way, the campus has experienced substantial problems, such as chronic underfunding, social turmoil, and a truly misguided attempt to consolidate Bluefield and Concord. In the past, the college has been able to overcome these challenges through capable leadership, great foresight, and prudent management. In recent years, though, the campus has been faced with a new set of challenges created by its inability to provide traditional students with on-campus housing, a reduction in state support, a consistent decline in population in our service area, the foolish move by the state to stop Bluefield State providing many of its popular two-year programs, and perhaps even more significantly, the incredible advances in technology and the online delivery of coursework and programs that has made the higher education marketplace extremely competitive. At Bluefield State, these and other factors have led to a severe decline in enrollment and a corresponding breakdown in the fiscal health of the institution. In particular, let's look at the enrollment trend at Bluefield State over the past several years. But before we begin, let me note that in terms of enrollment, you've probably seen a bunch of different numbers. And a lot of times it's attributable to the different ways in which the higher education bureaucracies count enrollment. For example, you hear the term head count, which means every student taking even one class, including a high school student taking an AP class and paying only $75. That counts as a student in head count. Academic leaders like this count because it's usually the highest. But in effect, it creates a false sense of positioning and that it fails to reflect the true fiscal soundness of the institution. Full-time enrollment, or FTE, is another approach in which the total number of hours taught by the institution is divided by the number of hours used to determine a full-time student. Again, this count fails to give an accurate picture of the college's fiscal health, especially in West Virginia, where a student pays one price for tuition for 12 hours, but can take as many hours as they want, about 12 hours or as they're permitted. For example, if two students take 18 hours apiece, that would equal 36 hours. When that's divided by 12, it would count as 3 full-time students, yet only 2 students are paying tuition. As you can see, the amount paid theoretically would cover only about 2/3 of the cost of providing the classes that the student takes. Both of these approaches ignore reality by inflating the real count that we need to consider if we're going to get a true fiscal picture of the financial health of the institution. Where am I? Where do I point this to? Where do I point this to? Not moving. Go to the next. Can you go to the next slide? Okay. Yeah, there we go. A philosopher once said, "We can evade reality, but we cannot evade the consequences of evading reality." We're at a critical place and time at Bluefield State College where we can no longer pretend that we have 1,200 or even 1,000 students, because if we do, we're merely fooling ourselves. We have to be honest about where we are. And at such time, then, we need to look at what we call full-time head count, which is the number of full-time students enrolled in taking and paying for 12 or more hours of classwork. If you look at the slide, you'll see in the left-hand column that over the last 8 years, we've lost 40% of our full-time head count. It's true, there's been a general decline in student population statewide, but no one has suffered more than Bluefield State College. If we dig a little deeper and look at students who have actually paid in full, our number is actually closer to 840 full-time students. Two other important factors that you see up here are the drop in our number of students in our freshman class that has dropped 45% from 2012, and perhaps a more devastating figure is the number of students we lose between the students' freshman and sophomore year, nearly 46% in the last 8 years. As a result, the impact on fiscal health of the college has been severe. Each year, the Higher Education Policy Commission releases a report which measures the financial health of each public and private college and university in West Virginia by the use of what's called the Composite Financial Index, or CFI. The index is a combination of 4 different analyses that produces a CFI score on a 10-point scale. Higher scores above 6 indicate strong financial health that would position the institution to weather financial difficulties and or invest in new programs. A score of 3 is the minimal financial health, the minimal. Anything below 3, including negative scores, are an indication of financial stress. Unfortunately, on the most recent report released by the Higher Education Policy Commission, Bluefield State's score was a minus 1.97. By far the worst score of any public or private four-year college in West Virginia. I'll note that based upon some of the actions we took last year, including a net reduction of $500,000 from administrative positions, our CFI has shown a slight improvement to negative 1.84. Nevertheless, it is clear we're currently in a state of severe financial exigency. As many of you may know, in the past, we've been actively involved in higher education in West Virginia. We've served as counsel for the Senate Finance Committee and the legislature, and we served as the primary consultant to the governor's Blue Ribbon panel on higher education. And there wasn't a time, especially when money was tight, that discussions regarding reforming the higher education system in West Virginia did not include a comment from someone who would say, we could just close Bluefield. In the past 9 months, we've managed to stop that talk. Yet we have to face the reality that in today's highly competitive higher education environment, closing colleges and universities has become a regular occurrence. Since 2016, 3 short years ago, 87 colleges and universities have been acquired, merged, or closed. 41% of those institutions have closed, and 32% were public institutions. HBCUs have become especially susceptible to closings due to rapidly declining enrollment and the deteriorating financial conditions, despite the fact that the current administration has increased Title III funding over the past 2 years. All this being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're here today first of all to tell you we have no intention of closing. And while we seek ways to cooperate with other colleges for the benefit of both institutions, we also have no intention of merging with any other institution. And finally, let me say that we have all the intentions of the world of one day putting our own football team back on the field and not being bought or becoming a branch of an institution that already has a football team that plays in the Big 12. However, to get our institution back on track, to return this school to a position of prominence, and to honor the magnificent heritage of Bluefield State College as a special place of opportunity for generations to come, it is our duty and our responsibility to act and act boldly, but with great prudence, to make the improvements necessary not just to succeed, but to excel. In particular, it's imperative that we identify our priorities, we fund our priorities, and we promote our priorities. In contrast to a course that some may wish to follow, we just don't believe you can just cut your way to prosperity. We believe that across-the-board cuts display a lack of courage, an unwillingness to make the tough decisions, and a higher interest in placating certain interests. Instead, we believe a growth model in which we invest in those programs and priorities that will support our 3 primary objectives: increasing enrollment, growing external support, and maintaining a high-quality academic product. Our enrollment priorities include programs that will meet the ever-evolving economic needs of employers, as well as the personal preferences and academic demands of our students, both in terms of content and delivery. Several projects, as many of you may know, are already underway: establishing new undergraduate and graduate programs, developing on and off-campus housing, creating an honors program, growing our online presence, advancing an international student program, and evaluating the potential presented by a more robust athletic program. There are also other programs, projects, and initiatives that we hope to announce in the next few weeks and months that will align with our objectives, including removing unnecessary statutory, regulatory, and policy-driven bureaucratic roadblocks that inhibit our ability to respond quickly to a competitive and rapidly changing higher education marketplace. In terms of funding our priorities, we have to look at the current status of our resource allocation. In particular, please take a look at this graph. Now, it's tough to see from up here, but as you can see on the left, we've had a 40% drop in enrollment since 2012. On the right, you can see a 33% drop in the number of staff, while the number of faculty has held at only 7% drop in the last 8 years. On its face, this looks disproportionate, especially in regard to the dramatic decline in full-time students we've experienced in recent years. I've asked our provost, Dr. Ted Lewis, to look at this situation, and I trust the leadership and members of the faculty will work with him and his leadership team to make responsible recommendations in that area. Please believe that my office, as well as the members of the board, know and understand that finding and keeping a high-quality faculty is of the utmost importance to this institution and to every other academic institution. Moreover, let me state again that we're focused on reprioritizing our spending, which would include freeing up funds and directing them toward the retention of high-quality faculty in priority areas. However, our office would be violating its administrative duty to the board, and the board would be violating its fiduciary responsibility to the institution, the state, our students, and our parents if we chose to ignore such a reality. Let me close by returning to one strategy we cannot emphasize enough, and that is promoting our institution by telling the compelling story of Bluefield State College as far and as wide as possible. Over the past 10 months, I've been privileged to have the opportunity to go to so many places throughout West Virginia and tell the story of how Bluefield State College has changed the lives of so many people. Recently, I was meeting with a group of alumni in North Carolina, and one young woman told me her story. She was 18 years old and a single mother with 2 children. She knew she needed a college education if she was going to make the kind of life she wanted for her 2 kids. When she went to enroll, the government counted the support she was receiving for her 2 children, solely for the support of her children, as income, and as such she didn't qualify for the Pell, and consequently she wouldn't have enough money to go to college. As she stood crying in the hallway, a person from financial aid saw her, took her in his office, gave her a pencil and paper, and asked her to write down exactly how much she would need. Well, through work study and other support from the college, they made it work. She got it, she graduated, she got a good job, she raised her children, and the week after we talked, her daughter got married. And she gives all the credit to Bluefield State College. For years, this institution has impacted so many, and it's been ignored in doing so. Yet its record is overwhelming. The $1 million delivered by Governor Justice for Heritage Village and the refurbishing of our student union shows that our story is getting out, and we're poised to turn the corner. But as many of you know and understand, the most difficult time in the history of any organization are times of transition. However, we believe that keeping focused on our priorities and our objectives, and by working and communicating with campus leaders and coming to you, the campus community, directly in opportunities such as these, we're going to be able to navigate this critical time, overcome our challenges, and move forward towards providing each of our students with a life-changing opportunity and returning Bluefield State College to a position of prominence that it so richly deserves. Thank you very much. And now it gives me a great pleasure to introduce the Chairman of the Board of Governors of Bluefield State College, Reverend Gary Ward.
Good afternoon, everyone. To all of my English-speaking brothers and sisters, peace be unto you. To all of my Jewish friends, shalom alachem. To all of my Muslim brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum. And to all of my brothers and sisters from the hood, what's up? The mission statement of Bluefield State College is to provide students an affordable, accessible opportunity for public higher education. An historically Black institution, Bluefield State College prepares students for diverse professions, graduate study, informed citizenship, community involvement, and public service in an ever-changing global society. The college demonstrates its commitment to the students' intellectual, personal, ethical, and cultural development by providing a dedicated faculty and staff and quality educational programs and strong student support services in a nurturing environment. This is our current mission statement. This is our commercial. This is what people see when they go online. This is who we say we are. Have any of you ever met your favorite celebrity only to be disappointed after you met them? They appear to be one personality on television or on their field of play, but when you meet them in person, you are disappointed. My question for us today is, are we our commercial, or who have we portrayed ourselves to be, or will people be disappointed when they meet us here in person at Bluefield State College? A $20 bill, for example, has great value if crumbled up or stamped on. Bluefield State College is of great value even if it's been crumbled up and stepped on. This institution is of great value to its students, past, present, and future. This community, the state of West Virginia, the United States of America, and around the world. Like the US dollar, Bluefield State College impact is not just local, but global. Like any good business, they all realize whatever they are selling, whatever product they are trying to produce, is not actually the business that they are in. All businesses are in the people business. This institution of higher learning is no different. We have wonderful people here who are intelligent enough to talk to other people about the great value of Bluefield State College. We have to let the fragrance of Bluefield State out. What good is fragrance, a good fragrance, bottled up? Our high quality of positive language towards each other and about Bluefield State College has to reflect the inner passion and the motivation of moving this institution to higher heights. In this past year, I have observed an attitude shift from everyone concerning Bluefield State College. The community's attitude has shifted. The state of West Virginia's attitude has shifted. The Board of Governors' attitude has shifted. The administration's, faculty's, and staff's attitude have shifted. And most important shift in attitude I've witnessed has come from you, our students. There's a certain pride and a certain swagger now that I've seen on campus that hadn't been seen by me in at least 25 years. This new attitude is reflective in the classroom and in our sports activities. I'm so proud to walk this campus and see the new altitudes stemming from our new attitudes. The Titanic, for example, was one of the great tragedies of the 20th century. This huge, gigantic ship hit an iceberg, and many people died as a result. 1,503 people total died, including passengers and crew. One of the first lifeboats to leave the Titanic only carried 28 people. There were enough, it could have held 64 people. There were enough life jackets for all 2,208 people, and almost everyone was wearing one. Most of the lifeboats were only half filled. They were unwilling to turn back and rescue their fellow travelers. Therefore, our task is challenging, but not impossible. All of us need to turn back and have an attitude of creating an atmosphere that attracts people to this great institution and to this wonderful campus. Against all odds, this ship, Bluefield State College, has stood the test of time. It has withstood Jim and Jane Crow days. It has withstood the Great Depression. It has withstood a bombing and fire in 1968. This institution has faced declining enrollment since the early 2000s and declining state funding since 2012. However, this institution here has been educating since 1895. All of us now need to lift Bluefield State up with one voice. In the Bible, Ruth and Naomi cried unto God, and the Bible records that they lifted up their voice. Now, I know for most of us who take English class, that's bad English. You're supposed to be lifted up their voices. But in the King James, it said lifted up their voice, not voices. And I can understand that that is a theological quip that we can actually use as preachers. And say lifted up their voices and wept. But with one voice, God heard their cry and blessed them. With one voice, God and our community needs to hear all of us. With one voice, we need to tell everyone we come in contact with about the standard of excellence and the quality of higher learning that Bluefield State College has to offer. All of us, with one voice, need to be advocates for Bluefield State College. With one voice, we need to embrace and to be proud of our storied and rich heritage as we continue to adjust to the ever-changing future demands of our families and workforce. My wife is our choir director. When she tries to get us to sing in harmony, notice I said she tries, it doesn't mean that we are all singing the same note, but we are all singing the same song. With this new board and all of our collective attitudes and strengths, with one voice, our community, state, and country will be hearing us sing the same positive song about Bluefield State College. This attitude and sentiment is reflected in our hymn. Once again, thy name we raise in accents loud and clear. Sing we evermore thy praise, Bluefield, our school so dear. High upon thy terraced hill, we see thee strong and true, and our hearts with courage fill our school, O gold and blue. Upward through the hills we climb while ever lifting thee, thy precepts always in mind, honor and loyalty. Men may come and men may go, and passing through the gate, feel within their hearts a glow for thee, dear Bluefield State. In the words of the now late, great Aretha Franklin, what you want, baby, we got it. All we need is a little respect. It is my prayer that everyone leaves today with a new attitude towards Bluefield State College. God bless Bluefield State College. God bless America, and God bless all of you. God bless you.
Thank you all for coming. And let me give thanks to everyone that was involved in setting this up today. We truly appreciate it. Thank you all. Have a good weekend.